Hello and a happy, joyous, universal and international Infinity Day Boxing Day to you. Part 2, more philosophy, let's go. Question 5, is there life after death? Well, obviously I think the answer is yes, and for my reasoning, please go back to the previous video and see what I said about how if Jesus is who he says he is, we can trust him about stuff. Because the historical evidence for Jesus checks out, then also we can trust him on what he says about life after death, and the even better news is that what he says about life after death is way less lame than you probably think it is. If your image of what the Bible says about life after death is that we all get like floated away to some cloud place to live this like floaty half-real existence, good news, that is not what the Bible teaches. The truth is so much better, you guys. It is so much better. I wrote a whole little book about this called What Happens When We Die, but the short version is that the eternity that God promises us, the life after death that he promises us, is not life in some floaty cloud place somewhere else. It's real life right here. The point is not to go to heaven. The point is that Jesus is going to bring heaven to earth to heal this broken world and make the whole world new again. That's the promise. It's so good, you guys. It's so good. Number 6, can you really experience anything objectively? I think no, probably not, right? Like everything that we experience through our senses. And so do our senses give us objective reality? Not really. Like I think we can know objective reality, but I think every objective reality that we quote unquote know requires some amount of faith, like some amount of presuppositions that we just rest on without actually knowing for sure. Like it comes back to the brain in the jar thing, right? We can't prove that we're not brains in jars, but in order to like get anywhere in our thinking and, you know, to get on with life at all, we need to just kind of assume that we're not. And like I said yesterday, on strict atheist materialist grounds, we actually have like no good reason to trust our senses to give us reliable information because our senses were evolved for survival, not for truth. So where does that leave us? Well, it's a tough one, right? Because on one level, yeah, every bit of information that we ever perceive comes to us through the filter of our senses. And so I think we need to approach all knowledge and all learning with this sense of humility that I am not the center of the universe. I am using the equipment that I've got to make of the universe what I can. And those perceptions are not always going to be accurate, and I should be prepared for them not to be, and I should be willing to, you know, accept correction when it turns out that I am incorrect. But at the same time, I believe, and look, take this for whatever you think it's worth, but because I believe that there is a transcendent God who gave me my senses in the first place, I believe that they've been designed with intentionality, not so that everything I experience is the objective truth, but so that I have access to the objective truth that God reveals to us. That is one I think I need to do a bit more thinking about. But anyway, moving on. Number 7, what is the best moral system? Okay, so few options. Survival of the fittest. Let's just do what nature does, except that nature is the strong eats the weak, and I don't think any of us really want to live in that society. So, all right. Number 2, do what makes you happy. Great, except what happens when me doing what makes me happy makes you unhappy? So I guess we have to amend that to do what makes you happy as long as you don't hurt yourself or someone else. Except half the time, when we hurt ourselves or someone else, we didn't do it on purpose. We thought we were going to make ourselves happy. We thought we were going to make them happy. We didn't do it though, because turns out we don't have the perspective that we need to actually do that in any kind of consistent way. So, all right, what about morality as decided by consensus? Like we all figure it out. Whatever society decides, that's what's right or wrong. Except that like 2,000 years ago, back in the day in the Roman Empire, a Roman father was allowed to like go in to see their newborn son or daughter, and then if they wanted it, great. And if they didn't, they could just like chuck it out on the street to die. And that was seen as a morally okay choice. Society had decided that the killing of infants was morally acceptable. Were they right? Hopefully you agree that they were wrong. Hopefully we can all agree baby murder, it's on the bad list. But who says? Like if we did a revote today and for some reason there was a unanimous vote that we should move baby murder off the bad list and onto the morally good list, would that make it morally good? Surely not, right? But what that points us to is the reality that we don't actually get to decide what good and evil are. As soon as we say, I don't care what anybody else says, baby killing is wrong, what we're saying is that somewhere out there are these things called right and wrong that exist no matter what people say say about them. But how could that be? Well, again, I would say on strictly atheist, materialist grounds, there is no objective right or wrong. How can there be? Evolution doesn't give you a way that things should be. Evolution is just survival. If the universe has no purpose, then human beings have no purpose besides the purpose that we create for ourselves, which means that there is no true morality. There is just the systems that we come up with to try and make life work before we die. And I'm not saying for one second that atheists can't be nice, kind, moral people. I know plenty of atheists that are way nicer than I am. But that doesn't say anything about where good and evil come from and if they exist at all. And the way I see it, the only possible way that you can say that a person is being a good person or a bad person is if you know what a person is for. If people aren't for anything, there's no such thing as a good person or a bad person. There's just people making decisions. But if people are here for a purpose, then our goodness or evilness can be measured against our ability to fulfill that purpose. And again, I think the Christian worldview has this nailed because it says that at the core of reality, at the base level of existence, is God, who is this being of unending, self-giving love, who has created us to reflect that love back to him and out into the universe. And so the fundamental purpose of a human life is love. As Jesus himself put it, the greatest commandment, the greatest thing that humanity can aspire to is love for God and love for other people. If we do that, we're being moral. If we don't do that, we are being immoral. Now, how we do that and how it all works out in society, those are huge questions. That's really hard. But fundamentally, I think the principles that Jesus left us with, the principles that he embodied so fully through his death on the cross, is that real love looks like sacrificial service for the other, even if that other happens to be your worst enemy. It is laying your life down for the people around you, safe in the knowledge that the universe is not a place of scarcity, that love is not a finite resource, that God is going to keep on giving you what you need so that you can keep on laying your life down for the people around you. And of course, all of human history is the story about all of the ways that we failed to do that over and over again. And so, of course, the whole reason that Jesus came was not just to be our perfect example of love, but to live that perfect life of love that we couldn't live and to give that life up for us in our place. Which means that through faith in him, we can be invited back into relationship with God that we have so mightily screwed up. We can be forgiven for all of the ways that we don't get it right, and we can be transformed day by day into the kind of people who more and more do get it right. But anyway, yeah, sacrificial, self-giving love, that's the best moral system. How exactly do we do that? That is the journey of a lifetime. Final question, what are numbers? Guys, it's not maths day. I don't know how to answer that question. And so instead, we will answer a question that Roderick submitted, which is, can animals understand English? I think some of them kind of can, but not as much as pet owners think they can. Thank you ever so much for celebrating International and Universal Infinity Day with me. Who'd have thought it would be a 2-day bonanza, but that's just the thrill of philosophy, is it not? Please subscribe for more philosophy. I'll see you tomorrow.